this. As I lift the upper, find N5